I did the whole feed out of my hand thing.
Sure.
You know, I grabbed at her bowl. I did the whole thing.
Okay.
And it was totally fine. The first time I saw her snip at another dog was when we had one of those balls that had treats that spewed out of them.
Sure.
She was playing with one, and we had another dog in the house at the time, and she completely went berserk.
Okay.
He got near the treats.
Sure.
So I was like, oh shit, she has a dog aggression with food.
Yep.
I thought that was really all that there was. You know, like they lived together, the two dogs. I thought it was fine, whatever. It didn't escalate until my mom and her little Maltese came to Chicago. Okay. And yeah, that's when I texted you.
Okay.
It was a pretty rough situation. She bit the dog. Wasn't horrible. Like, he didn't need stitches or anything, but it still like rocked me to my core that I had a dog that was capable of doing that.
Sure.
We tried our best to like separate the dogs, but I told my mom that she had a slight food aggression, and she was trying to feed them both treats, and at the same time, and the dog pretty much was like, "This is my treat," and Harley was like, "These are both my treats," and she attacked.
Okay, so go back to that point.
Yeah.
Dog. So you said, how is the dog communicating this is mine?
A slight growl.
So they both
they were like this, sitting.
Okay.
She was sitting the way she is.
Okay.
And he was sitting.
Okay.
And she was kind of like going like this.
Okay.
And Harley was going back and forth. Harley was like.
Oh, she wanted both.
Yeah. And so then this dog saw, and so he looked over in a little growl kind of thing. He had also kind of like lunged at her before, but it was a strictly territorial thing. Like, she wanted to play. She like pawed at him a couple times, and he was like, "Fuck no, I don't." I'm a little dog. I don't want to do that. So, but when he did that, he did a little growl, and Harley just
lost it.
Yeah, that's when it was like horrible. And not even gonna lie to you, it happened again yesterday. She didn't bite this dog, but there was a treat involved, and she pinned this little dog to the ground.
Okay.
Literally pinned him, and was like showing all of her teeth, and it was very scary. And she had she had that on yesterday, so I just yanked it, and I just started tapping as fast as I could because that's all I knew how to do.
Sure.
But
what did she do?
That's when she like had him pinned, and she stopped. She like looked at me. She had all of her teeth glaring, and then I like pinged her again, and I said, "Wow, that's like."
Okay. What number did you ping her at?
100. It was horrible. Like,
how many times did you tap it on?
2.
Okay. So you tap once, she looks at you. You tapped again, you called her. Okay. So a hit on 100 should have sent her off the dog.
I know.
Okay. So there's a couple things, right? So one, welcome to having a dog. It's very easy. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw my Instagram story. I had a dog bite me.
No, I didn't actually.
It was a redirect. So it's funny because the lady showed up and she's like, "Oh, my dog's happy to see you," because he's very territorial. He's very picky about who he warms up to and all that stuff. And this was our 4th time working with him. Yeah. And like he was like happy to see us, right? But in the back of my head, like, because she said, "Oh, he's so happy to see you," and I'm like, "Yeah," until we do something he doesn't like. Okay. So during that session, we were just doing come when called, and he didn't like after so many reps that I was pulling him from his mom. So he started to get pissed. Yeah. And you see him jumping, and then finally he jumps and he bites me. But he bit me like he got part of me, but then he got my wallet. So like it didn't hurt. Yeah. So I stopped, and she's like, "Oh my God, like, why did that happen?" And I was because I told her just because he liked us earlier, like doesn't mean he's gonna like everything that we do. Yeah. Okay. So people tend to take dog behavior at face value. Oh, my dog is so friendly. Like in like one little setting. I'm like, yeah, but there is a multitude of settings, right? So like with people, an example would be, let's say you have your best friends and all that stuff, right? They come over, like if I had buddies over and stuff like that, they could go in my fridge, they can grab a beer, they can make it home. Like I trust them fully. But then maybe I have a new friend who I've only known for a couple of weeks, and they walk in and maybe they look in my fridge, and I'm like, don't know you that well, right? So same thing for dogs. My dogs are not resource guarders, okay? But if you try to take something from them because they don't know you, they will growl at you, okay? that's normal because they have no trust, they know who you are. But
Yeah.
people tend to think or have this impression of, no, I'm a
Yeah.
human, you don't do that. Like, but dogs don't think that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no
Yeah.
difference in species. It's just like if they have something and it's theirs and they don't know you, they're going to guard it.
Yeah.
So for Harley, we know in a number of contexts, non-aggressive. Okay, we know around food she has issues. So that puts you at an advantage because you know that. Okay,
Yeah.
so the easiest approach is preventative approach. Okay, telling mom, no treats, period. Okay, because that was right there, the whole setting and everything, right? I get it, I understand it.
Well, I told her, I was like, please don't, you know, and she's like, oh, well, it'll be fine. And I wasn't even in the room, so like, I was like, it could have been prevented.
Right.
Which is, I knew.
Now, for your mom, did she now learn that lesson?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, and I understand it's your mom, I don't say please don't. I say don't do that. Okay?
Yeah.
I understand child-parent whole relationship thing, but there's reasons why, you know, like me, with people here, I don't say please anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just say no. Because people will bypass please.
Yeah.
Okay? I had a client who had a very aggressive bulldog, and he was in his, walking through his apartment building, taking his dog out, and somebody just had their dogs willy-nilly, right? And he's like, oh, can you get your dog under control? My dog's in front. Like, oh, my dog's fine. He's like, no. He's like, please, just, you know.
Yeah.
And he kept saying please. And finally, he's just like, fucking get your dog under control. He's like, my dog will kill your dog.
Yeah.
And then the guy was like, picked up their dog and was like, all pissed off, like, you're an asshole and all that stuff, right? So then he tells me about it. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, you did what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if your neighbor doesn't like you because, one, if they're not going to listen, that's not someone that I want to have as a friend anyways, right? People who are mindful and respectful will go like, oh, okay, and comply, okay? So I've learned not to use the please anymore and then just say like, look, we've had moments, it can be bad, and then unfortunately it ended up into a bad situation, okay? Going to yesterday, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, reiterate that again for me.
Yeah, so I have a woman who hangs out in the courtyard and gives dogs treats.
Okay.
She's totally fine. She's very respectful. Harley is obviously with the human.
Mm-hmm.
We share like a gate with another community, and a dog from that community slid under the gate and wanted a treat from that woman, and Harley was not used to that, and I think that's probably why.
Sure.
And then she had the treat out, and I think the dog like looked at her funny. I thought I heard a growl. The lady thought she heard a growl, and then Harley went to her again.
Okay, and that this is the pin with the 100. Okay, right. So, all right. So, what are you trying to achieve, or what do you want to achieve? What's your goal?
The goal, well, first of all, prevent any kind of like future dog aggression, just in general.
Okay.
Because I don't know, she was playing with another dog via the fence, and the dog kind of like bit at her neck funny, and she immediately started growling.
This was through the fence?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and that was after the incident yesterday.
Okay.
So I fear that it might be developing towards dog aggression in general.
Okay.
So I want to prevent that from happening.
Okay.
I also would like to have my like human food around potentially, and have her not go crazy, which what I've been trying to do is just place her while I'm eating.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's anything else to that, but she has like shown instances if there were other dogs around and we were like at a picnic or something or barbecue, she would growl around the human food as well, and I don't feed her human food, but she's just so obsessed with
scent of it. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess prevent that. I don't know if that's possible, but that's it. She's a very well trained dog otherwise, because you've helped with that.
Okay.
But yeah. So
one thing is, I don't believe she's developing dog aggression. Okay. That fence thing is territorial. Okay. That's why that's why I asked, like, they were playing through a fence.
Yeah.
To clarify that.
She was like, that other dog was like nipping at her ear and her neck and shit, and she had the e-collar on.
Sure.
So I'm sure that annoyed her, but he's done that before and she hasn't been bothered.
She hasn't done it. The other thing, it can be just like tension after, like you said, it was the day after the incident, right?
Yeah.
So there was some kind of
Yeah.
negative energy there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is the easiest way to address this is, one, we can't make Harley share things. Okay, like that concept of sharing is a human thing. Some dogs do it, some dogs don't care, you know? They'll play with tugs and all that stuff. Some dogs don't. So getting her to like enjoy when a dog is nearby while there's food or something is not a realistic expectation. That's why I was just trying to get your feedback is, okay? So going back to the instance of when you remoted her at 100, okay?
I feel bad for doing that, but I didn't know what to do. I was panicking.
But the thing is, like I can tell you right now, it doesn't sound like she felt 100 to me. Because 100 would have sent her off. They would have like, shit.
Yeah.
But you said
she didn't yelp. She didn't.
No, so it can be a couple of things. One, it could be because her, she's got that dense fur, is that she didn't feel the full power of 100. Two, she was such in a state of agitated aggression that it's kind of like when I've been in a few fights, I've been punched and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't
Your
feel
adrenaline
anything.
is going.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Or three, and it doesn't look like it here, but maybe fitted in incorrectly.
Yeah, if you want to double check that I'm doing it properly.
It looks good here.
Okay.
I'll double check in a bit, but maybe in the moment or something, right? So those because that's why I was like, what was your number? You're like 100. Like, man, 100. That's pretty high for to get, because she went from focus on the dog to focus on you, and then she came to you with 2 taps. And for me, 100 hit would have been like, and like the dog goes, crap, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, but it's not out the ordinary. When a dog is very much under stress or pissed off, you may find yourself at that number. So I would just bear that in mind, okay?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my book, if a dog can't handle certain things, then they lose those privileges, right? So like the treat lady in the courtyard, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, because you're a jerk. Like if there's another dog around, that's the issue. Is like if you're there, right? But like let's say another dog sits under the fence that's not supposed to be there, or somebody's dog comes running off leash and it's not under control. Like there's so many variables that the easiest way is just to avoid it. Okay. Now, even for like myself, you're talking to someone who has a really big ego. Okay, is I've learned to taper that ego down because people aren't me. Okay. Yeah. So like me, I'll force dogs into situations where I'm like, yeah, fucking do it. See what happens, right? But I also have a very heavy hand when it comes down to correcting them with the e-collar, and I have no problem doing that. And they learn like when Jess is around, you don't fuck around because shit happens. Yeah. Okay. That's why I get harmony. Most people won't do that. Okay. The other thing is, let's say you had to do that in that situation. Now you have to worry about the judgment of all the people around you, right? Yeah. That's where a lot of things get tricky when we're working with dogs. Yeah. So I've been through all these things before with clients, with myself, just personal experience and stuff like that. So I go, what's the easiest but most effective way that we can get there, okay? So those things, if she's gonna be a part of it, okay, so I'm gonna give you both, I'm gonna give you a couple answers here, is under control always, okay? No freedom if we know there's something of value around, and your best bet is always to assume, okay? Like I don't care if it's the tiniest little thing or like, a piece of bacon or whatever, you just always assume this might be something that Harley may really want. So like, I'm not opposed to 2 dogs like getting treats, but this was very close, right? Yeah. And there's no judgment here, it's just like reiterating that I would have further distance, okay? So like you said, when you're eating dinner or something, you have her placed or whatever, okay? So that you've created distance, she's under control, she's not gonna budge, that's really good. Now, there is the possibility, I don't know what her degree of guarding is, but I've had dogs where they could be 20 feet away, and if they see a dog going after the water bowl or the food bowl, they'll watch. Okay, so that's a different thing because we have prevention and intervention. Okay, prevention is place, right? So like if we're at a barbecue and all the food is here, right? And then I have Harley in a place over there. Yeah, that's such a gap that technically we shouldn't see resource guarding. Okay, but you may. Yeah. So let's say she's growling from 20 feet away. I would correct her while she's on place for the growling until she cuts the crap, okay? That's prevention. She's not allowed near it, so then technically we shouldn't see the extreme, okay? Intervention would be Harley's not on place. she's actually free and walking around, but maybe she's right here walking back and forth and she's guarding the food. I remote right there and I don't say come, okay? Because you're trying to teach her that guarding this is not allowed.
Yeah.
When you say come, you actually kill the concept. So going to what you did earlier with the other dog, you were half correct and half incorrect, okay? And it's okay, I'm just clarifying for you.
Yeah, no.
What you do if she kicks into aggression is remote happens. I don't care if it's 100, I don't care if it's 127, I don't care if it's 127 continuous. She is going to break away. She needs to do it. She needs to make the decision, okay?
Yeah.
So if you remote her and then you go into Harley come, she doesn't learn that pinning down of the dog was not allowed.
Yeah.
She's thinking, oh, you called me? Sure. And dogs are very like, one topic to another, like, oh, paperclip, butterfly, you know,
Yeah.
it just switches. So, like when you pulled her away with that recall, was she relaxed? Or was she still tense?
I'm trying to recall. I think she was fine.
Yeah. So,
Like she wasn't breathing heavily. She wasn't anything. It was just like,
Yeah.
like you said.
yeah, one topic to another,
Yeah.
okay? So that's why we don't do the recall there, is I make her disengage from the dog. And what you might have seen, like let's say, like if I would have done that and I remote her and pop it up or whatever and she goes, ah! I don't care if I get a yelp, okay? It's like growing up, when I was spanked, I cried.
Yeah.
Mom didn't care that I cried. I mean, she didn't like it, but she was like, then don't do things I don't want you to do,
Right.
okay? Same thing for the dog. Your intention is not to hurt her. You're trying to stop something from escalating. You're also trying to teach her, like, you don't do that, right? You might get a yelp. And if you do so, and she's shaking in the corner, I don't console her. I let her process that. Because if you go over there like, oh, sorry, and you pet her to make her feel better, you're negating your correction, okay?
Okay.
So whenever we deal with behavior, there's no right or wrong answer in my book.
Yeah.
It's what's going to work best for the moment, okay? So not that your answer was wrong, but I'm just letting you know that she didn't learn that behavior is not allowed.
Yeah.
She just thinks you called her.
Understood.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the next time that happens, we don't want that to happen, but the next time should that happen, I want you to think about that, okay? Now, if I'm doing a direct approach of like, crap, you're not going to do this behavior, you risk of the possibility of escalating the problem, okay? So if she's in a really agitated state of aggression, and she's got the dog pinned down and I tap her, there is the possibility of she's going to go into the behavior and start biting. So if I do something like that, I'm already ready to jack it up in continuous, like right off the bat, if I see any kind of forward act of the behavior. Okay. It's not that you made it worse. That's what everybody thinks. Like, if you go online, you'll read like, oh, they'll say like e-collar makes dogs more aggressive, blah, blah, blah. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here 10 years later still working with aggressive dogs.
Right.
It's because the dog has not learned to shut it down. Most people, if they tap and the dog escalates, they stop. And then they try to pull the dog away.
Yeah.
And I go, no. Like, if you do that, you have to keep using the remote. You keep jacking it up, whatever you have to do to make the dog comply with the remote. So they learn that tap doesn't mean escalate. Tap means get the fuck away from them. Okay?
Yeah.
But, these are things you have to have all these things in mind.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was not prepared for that to happen, but that does make sense that, she thought she was just doing comedy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know it's a lot of information. Like, I already know this stuff because I've been doing this for 10 years. But most people don't go into it not knowing all that stuff. And then they think like, oh crap, like that went wrong or whatever. And I'm like, that's exactly what I would expect. Like yesterday I had a client who was practicing come on call with their dog and they jumped way ahead too quickly. And I just said a couple of things and they're like, that's exactly what we struggled with. I'm like, yeah, that's what I would expect right now. I already know these things, right? So,
she's perfect with that, by the way. She's really good with come,
Good.
Yeah.
So, and there may be a situation where the come is your best bet, is to just get her butt out of there, okay? I'm just saying if you're wanting to like correct the behavior where she doesn't think about it, that's technically how we go approach it. But the problem is, if she's unmuzzled, you're risking potentially escalating that problem, okay? Questions about any of that stuff?
No, that all makes sense to me. I did what I had to in that moment, but
Sure.
I think basically anticipating that it's going to happen at all times so that you're always prepared.
You're just aware.
Yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense.
We get complacent. Okay, it's very easy, like especially when you see a lot of progress, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, like my dog's great now. But like with humans, you know, like
You can revert back. Yeah.
you know. So the positive thing about dogs is you're the one that dictates everything. And I use the word dictate. I don't use the word request. I don't use the word, like asking the dog politely. I tell them, you're not going to do that. I make them not do that. I make them do the things I want to do. There is no decisions when it comes to dog behavior, because if they have the choice or the decision, she can decide, I'm not going to listen to you right now, and I'm going to bite this dog. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be like a dictatorship, a nice one, right? But you balance everything out because, you walk her, you feed her, you give her treats. You obviously care about her. That's why we're here right now. You can send her to daycare. Like, you do all these things for her. You can be a jerk or mean to her a little bit, as Bill put it once, for certain things, okay? So, do you happen to have anything with you, object-wise?
I have bacon.
You have bacon. Let's pull out that bacon.
Right.
Is that for me or is that for her?
For her. Yeah. Harley, come on.
So I'm going to show you something. Most people think that when we do resource guarding, we just make the dog be bad and then we correct it, which is actually not how we do it. So I'm going to show you a controlled exercise.
Okay. So she's already...
Yeah, I see.
This is from our local diner, so let's see how it is.
Oh, is it the one on the corner from you?
Yeah, Stella's.
I've been there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you want to do this.
I'll just
Pieces?
take it. All right. And remote. Thank you. And Harley. Thank you. And we're gonna scoot down over here, Phil. So, what we're gonna do is, first thing is, I want her by default, anything that falls on the ground is not allowed.
Okay.
What's her default number?
17.
17. So I'm at 26. So I did about 3 taps there.
Okay.
I'm not doing anything here. You see how she's pulling away from it? And she's not wanting anything to do with it?
Yeah.
Right? So one thing is to set a default behavior for whenever something hits the ground, it's off limits.
Okay.
This falls in the line. And what we're doing here is we're going to set default rules in case it happens. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say tree lady's out, right? And you're like, oh crap. And she drops some treats and the dogs go for it and she doesn't. Okay? She by default goes, when stuff hits the ground, it has nothing to do with me. Okay? So I didn't say anything. I simply dropped it. And then the moment she went towards it, I tapped until she moved away from it.
Yeah.
Okay? So then here, I'm waiting to see if she's got any interest. She doesn't. And that was about 4 to 5 taps on 26. Okay? So when we do default rules, there is no words. Okay? If you word it, you're making a potential problem because then she's going to wait for that word.
Yeah.
Okay? So if I said like leave it, technically until I say leave it, she can have at it. Okay? So what I go is, here you go. And she goes, oh, what's that? And I go, pop, pop, pop. She goes, come. All right? Okay? So in the home, the way you could practice this is have her set up with a collar, wait 35 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, get some time, pretend like nothing's going on, go in the kitchen, drop something. Okay? And the moment she even looks at it, you don't need her to be there. The moment she looks at it, boom. Oh, crap. I can't even look at crap falling on the ground. Okay? So we're setting that default rule. The other thing I would do is do this with anything. Dog treats, dog bones, anything of value to her, we're now gonna only give it to her when we specify she can have it. So like we had the word break, right? For like your job is done.
Yeah.
It's gonna be same thing. So like instead of I present a bone and she can just grab it, I present a bone and she waits for the cue of break. So now it's like, because in her mind, it's if I see something, I can have it.
Yeah.
Now we're going, no.
Yeah.
You can have it if I go like this, directly to you, and I say break, okay? So then if I take a little piece here, so if I present like this, yep, 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 yep. There we go. Yep. Break. Okay. So what we're doing there is most dogs, you put something in front of them, it's just chop.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're putting a kind of precursor rule there, where it's not just if I present something, it's not immediate. You can have it. Yep. Right. There was no taps there.
Yeah.
Break. Now she can have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a similar thing that I do with this is like, let's say for going out the front door, some dogs will forge through. So I told the owners, you just put an imaginary rule of you cannot leave, right? We make the rule, then we have to say break in order for the dog to, even though the door's open,
Yeah.
they need permission
Yeah.
when the door's open.
You guys do that at Canine.
Yeah. So here, it's same kind of thing as even though something's right in front of you, even though it looks like I'm giving it to you, it's off limits, right? So what this is gonna do is make her second guess everything. You need the second guess. You need her to think like, am I actually gonna be able to have this? So it doesn't allow her to go to the next degree. Part of resource guarding is the assumption that it's hers, and in her world, she doesn't know that she's gonna, there's plenty more bacon at the diner. She just thinks like bacon, and it's limited resource right now, right? You know you can get more anytime. So what we're doing here is just putting that rule of like, just because we present doesn't mean it's yours. So if it's not hers, there's nothing to guard. Because that's what we guard. We guard things that are ours. So like if I go outside and I see someone sitting in my car, I go, what the fuck are you doing sitting in my car? It's my car, right? If you want to sit in the car, go sit in your own.
Yeah.
But if it's, you know, if they're sitting on their own car, I don't care. It's not mine, right? So possession is what creates this guarding behavior. Humans do it too, except dogs are more likely to go into a very, you know, agitated state in order to address something, okay? So here, just repeat this a couple of times. So then I said break, and then she was like, I don't know. I'm like, break. And then she can have it, okay? Technically, I say, okay, I don't know why I'm saying break. But, so that's one. I'm gonna give you a bunch of pieces here, okay?
Okay.
Of the puzzle. So, main thing would be dropping random things and being prepared to bump it, okay? So like, let's say I'm in the home, and then I drop something, and I see I bumped it to 38 there because so close that if she jumps straight to it, I wouldn't say anything, and you definitely don't want to intervene by putting your foot or anything in the way to block it, okay? Is she has to detract from the object, okay?
She has to make that choice.
Yes. Now, ideally, what I would do is, I'll do it again, quick reset here, is I'm going to ask for a bit more. Okay. Yeah. Is I'm going to want space. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The more space you make her give when something falls, the better. I would aim for at least 6 to 8 feet. Okay. So I'm not giving her any clear direction. I'm not saying sit down, place heel, none of that stuff. I'm going, I don't care what you do, you just need to leave the object. Okay. So when someone accidentally drops a treat and all the dogs come running to the treat, Harley goes running the other way. Okay, we're preventing that from happening. So you're having a balance of both. You're having the balance of I know to avoid things, but we're also going to set down a foundation that should you find yourself in a situation where something is uncontrolled and happens, maybe you're at a barbecue with Harley, someone's sitting down by the lawn chair and they drop something and she looks at it, she just gets up and walks away. Now we don't even get growling because she's thinking this has nothing to do with it. Okay, does that make sense? Good. And you would do the offering of anything, you're always going to do permission now. I don't care if it's a bone, I don't care if it's an antler, I don't care if it's bacon or dog food, dog toys. You're going to put everything everything away now, and everything's going to be on when I give you the okay, and now you can have it, right? So just because I offer the tennis ball, she should just sit there and go like, doesn't mean anything, and then you go, okay, great. And she'll, oh, okay, cool, and then she'll grab it. Very clear, very strict, okay? Questions so far?
No. For like fetch and stuff, same thing.
Yes. Okay. Now we're gonna cover the out of the drop. Okay. Does she have a drop, ma'am?
Yeah.
When you play fetch with her, does she naturally drop? Okay. So what we'll do is there any kind of bone or antler that she'll chew for a bit? I think you said no because like you were trying to avoid the resource guarding, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was an instance where she had one, for a while, but I don't have one now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what we're doing here is just like default rules, okay? But then you also have to have a formal release command, which would be the drop or the out, okay? So I'm going to show you using the bacon. You would use this for things that she would have long term. So like if she were to have a bone, like I have a client right now that their dog doesn't get bones because they resource guard, and I'm like, well, once you do this, if you wanted to give the dog a bone, you could, because now we have a release. Is back down to 26. Is very similar, but like let's say much leather, like kind of nibble on it. Right? She's just nibbling. Right. Right. Drop. Okay. So imagine like she had a bone. She's chewing on it for 5 minutes. And then I decide you're done with that bone. I would cue drop and then tap. She would then drop the bone and move away from the bone. At least 6 to 8 feet. Okay. Right now I'm not asking for a whole lot because I need to keep her in my space because of this. But I said break and I was allowing her to chew on it. She was just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
And then after like a few seconds I go drop. And she actually responded to the drop, but I tapped just in case. And then she pulled back a bit. So then I go break. Let her eat that one so that she can. This is the issue with resource guarding, is that you're going to see a dip in interest. Okay.
Yeah.
Now in my book, if I've had it happen with the dogs go like screw this, I don't want anything anymore, then I go fight. If you weren't like being a jerk about resources, we wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give you the balance of having control, preventing problems, but at the same time, Harley still having the access to things when you want her to.
Yeah.
Okay? Break. Girl. Right, so I'm not doing it from here.
Yeah.
She's trying to decipher. Break. See how she keeps anticipating? So that's why I keep repeating, girl. Break. Drop. Good. There's no tap there. Okay. So imagine she had a bone, right? That's exactly what I would want. But now we have this problem where we're dancing around where it's like, yes, you can have it, but now she's like, shit, am I going to get tapped? Like, you're not going to get tapped as long as you comply, right? But that's why you have to keep repeating
Yeah.
until she builds trust. Okay? Break. Break. Girl. So I'm just trying to clarify for her. So like when I
Yeah.
do that door exercise,
Yeah.
I create the problem of now the dog doesn't want to walk through the door. You know? So I told the owner it's a good problem because now your dog won't run out the door. But now we just have to do repetition so the dog goes, oh, I can walk through the door. I just have to wait for a very specific word. So for her, it's the same thing. So I've not said anything yet, so I like the fact that she turned around, or turned her nose. Harley, break. Good. Break. Girl. Break. Good. Girl. Drop. Good. Okay. Now I'm not pushing for more distance here
Yeah.
because it's going to really make this exercise difficult when they get here. But I like that, and there was no tap on that drop either. It was boom, right away she turned her head.
Yeah.
And now she also is learning if I respond very quickly, there is going to be no tap. Break. Girl. Girl. Drop.
Yep.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry to get your knees so greasy.
It's okay. I'll give you your red 26. Okay. So first, what you're going to start with is default rule is if you see any forward motion towards it, the cap right there, towards your hand because you've not said anything.
Yep.
Okay. Now you're going to bring your hand a little bit more forward towards Harley. Yeah. Okay. Because you need her. Wait a moment. Let her settle. This is fine. There you go. And go ahead and turn so that you're facing Harley here. Good. Right, good. So what we're doing is when you're presenting it, she's going, because it's a different person now.
Yeah.
She's thinking, oh, it's mom.
Yeah.
Right, mom's not affecting the rules. And she goes for it, and you tap, and you go, no, now this rule is universal. So she's going, I can't just assume now whenever you present something that it's going to be mine. Okay? So now we create default respect where when you bring something out for her, she would, like right now it says she's turning towards me because she knows the bacon's there. She's like, all right, cool, I'm not even going to look at it because I don't want to risk the tap.
Yeah.
Okay? So then now you're going to go ahead and you're going to present it again. And you're going to go, wait a moment. Yeah, she turns her head. You're going to say break.
Break.
And you're going to present it to her nose. Probably going to get a little bit, yep, to her nose again. Girl. Yeah.
Break.
Yep, that's fine.
It's okay.
Bend it a little bit more, good. Now go ahead and just open your hand up and then give the okay break.
Break.
Over his face. There we go. Okay. So we're just trying to clarify for her that when she does hear this cue, that it is in fact up for grabs. Okay.
Break. Break.
Girl. Now pull her in. Okay, keep repeating.
Break. Front. Break. It's okay. Girl.
Now cue the D word.
Drop.
Right. Okay.
And a tapper.
Exactly. That's fine. Now what you're gonna do here is you're gonna go ahead and open palm it, and then give the okay break, and allow her to actually eat it. There you go.
Girl.
good. We're gonna pause right there, okay?
Okay.
So the drawback to this exercise is it takes a bit to get the full comfort, okay? Because she's having to decipher what break actually entails, and of course that drop. But you're just saying like, look, when I offer you something or you have something, when I say drop, like it's yours until I cue that word. And after I give that cue, it means surrender the object and move away from it.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't really drill resource guarding stuff like this. I'm doing it for you because so you know what to do. But I don't drill it specifically because of this reason.
Yeah.
The dog will get too paranoid. They're like, I don't want anything to do with it. Okay? So the way I would actually do this exercise is I would get, an antler or a bone or whatever, something that's gonna last a while. You present it to Harley. If she goes to it without permission, you would give that tap. You would wait a moment. Okay, break. You then put it or give it to her. She takes it. Give her 15 minutes. And then you don't have to even get close to her. So like, let's say, if I get within 5 feet of Harley, I know she's gonna start growling. I don't need to do that. I could be 10 feet away. Harley, drop. Remote, right? She gets up. She moves away from the object, 6 to 8 feet. I then start to approach the object. When you're doing so, you have to watch Harley, because sometimes they'll re-engage. So like right now when you're offering the food, did you see how she was like giving her back like this?
Yeah.
But she's going, I don't know, right? So if Harley moves away from the bone, and let's say your bone is where you are, and she's like this, and then as you walk towards the bone, she starts to look at the bone too, she's re-engaged. You don't want to keep pursuing, because that's where she's going to go into challenge. I stop the moment I see the engagement. I would remote right here. She does this. Then you can move closer to the bone, but then if I see this, boom, right? I'm just saying, hey, when I cue that word drop, it is off limits. You have nothing to do with that bone. When I go for the bone, when I go for the object, I always like to be looking at the dog, crouch, then go for it, and then up. Because I'm watching for any re-engagement.
Yeah.
People tend to think, oh, I said drop, and the dog will spit it out. And the dog will still be looking at the object, and then when they see the hand going for it, boom. So that's why I like the distance, and anything that looks like interest in the object, I correct. So then what you'll end up seeing is you'll give her a bone, she has it for 30 minutes, you say Harley drop, she'll like get up and like walk out the room. And then you can go and take, she's like, it's yours, I'm done, we're good, okay? The more you demand from her, the better, okay? Now, just because she'll do the drop with you doesn't mean she'll do the drop for everybody. So like earlier, I tapped her once for drop, and then the 2 or 3 that I did after that, did no promoting. But then I gave you the bacon, and then you said drop, and then you had to, within that second, use a tap, because it doesn't immediately transfer, okay? So don't expect that other people, she don't listen to other people. You'd have to essentially empower their drop with the remote as well. So like, let's say with your mom, if your mom's watching Harley, she's like, can I give her a bone? Then you would be like, all right, mom, but now you're watching, and then you would say, hey, mom, tell her to drop. And you would pop Harley on the remote for the drop for your mom. So then she thinks, oh man, with grandma, it's the same thing. When she says drop, it means I have to surrender the object and give distance, okay? I don't care what she does after the fact. We don't go into sits, we don't go into downs, we don't go into place, none of that stuff. We just go into surrender the object and do something, okay? Questions about this so far?
No, I think that's good. No, I'm trying to think.
Okay. So the way this should all work together, okay, so these are a bunch of pieces to a bigger puzzle, is the default rule of if I drop something, if anybody drops anything, it's off limits. If anybody ever presents something, so like let's say, again, you're at a barbecue, somebody's walking with like, I don't know, a chicken leg in their hand, does like most dogs go and get the chicken leg, is everything is off limits unless it's very specifically in her face with the word of, okay, break, now you can have this, it is off limits. So we prevent any guarding here, okay? If you see any interest, and interest doesn't have to be smelling or actively there. Interest can be as simple as looking at the object. You can remote there, no words, okay? So you're telling her, don't even think about that stuff. It's not yours, okay?
We do that when we're in heels when other dogs are present.
Sure, exactly. We're saying you're doing this right now. That has nothing to do with it, right? The drop is for, like, let's say, you know, maybe you're with the treat lady and she gives Harley a nice little piece of jerky. That jerky is going to last a few seconds. But we're not aware of a dog that's maybe entering. Now I have a cue of, hey, release that object in your mouth, drop, so that she spits it out and backs away from it, and I can remove her. So if the dog were to go for it, technically we shouldn't see anything because you've disengaged her. Once she drops something, the possession game is over. It's off limits for her until you say, okay, now you can have it again. So like if I did that and the dog came and scooped it up, she's just like, I was done with it anyways. Okay?
When we're working on this at home with the drop, should I have her on a leash and pull her away?
Oh, no.
For the distance?
No, you do distance through remote. Okay, so earlier, so I'll have you do it right now.
I saw kind of what you were doing in the beginning.
Yes, so it was very tiny. It was very tiny pressure. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is go ahead and pivot. There we go. Yep. Over you are. Move. Okay, like that. We'll see how far away she goes. Now we're gonna watch here and see where she settles. So what you just said was, when something hits the ground, you don't bother with it. Right now she's on something else. We're gonna see what she does here. Back to your side. This is fine or whatever. But now she's engaged with something else. Okay. So now we're gonna repeat that one more time. So you're gonna anchor yourself. Okay. I'm gonna have you not move. Okay. And that's going to. We're gonna put her in a sitting position beside you, but we're not gonna. There we go. That's fine. Okay. Yep. All fine. That distance is fine. Now, if she were to start to come around you here, towards this way, I would tap to send her back that way. So we're gonna see she's still good distance. Now she's going the opposite way. Good. Okay.
I'm totally disinterested.
Because resource guarding comes from thinking something is theirs. Okay. So there's no direction here. There's no obedience. You're just teaching a default behavior of, when you see that has nothing to do with you. Okay?
Cool.
Other questions?
No, that was my only one, was try to get her to.
Okay.
Cool.
Practice all this, and then, like, technically, like, because it's a balance of awareness, you're setting down some default rules, so in case something happens that you're not aware of or catch you off guard, put in these kind of default behaviors that we shouldn't see anything, okay? Now, if you're really trying to see, like, well, how would you do if there's another dog around, because that can change things, is that's where things like muzzles come into play. So that's like, you can just create the situation and not worry about, are you going to escalate? And if you do escalate, not a big deal, you can't do anything, and I can correct you, okay? But this here is what I do with a lot of my resource guarding cases. It's just preventative measures, making everything off limits to the dog unless very explicitly given the, hey, okay, break, now you can have it. Anybody, I would make friends, family, hey, no treats for Harley, because then they could disrupt things. Where if your mom's like, hey, Harley, come here, and just gives her a treat willy-nilly, then she's going to think like, oh, wait a minute, I can get some things without that permission, okay? So unless they're willing to reinforce the rules that you're putting in place, I would just tell them, no treat. Okay?
Got it.
Other questions?
No, this is all very helpful. Thank you, as always.
This is going to take some time.
Yeah.
Okay, the default stuff is super simple because it's just, that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
The controlled, okay, now you can have it, and the drop is going to take time. Okay? I would, again, suggest things that'll last a while.
Yeah.
Bones, antlers, whatever, everything put away. When you give it to her in the beginning, always remoted, leash on. Do not go and try to piss her off and then give the drop.
Okay.
You don't need to. You can completely work around the situation, because I actually had that happen to a client last week. Is the dog had a piece of plastic and started guarding it, and then he tried to get the dog to release it, and the dog nailed him pretty good. And I told him, like, no. I'm like, remote. Never, like, we don't need to piss the dog off and use a remote here. You can completely work around it. and
Sure.
still get the same effective result. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope. We are with you guys. She's boarding Thursday through Saturday this week, so
Okay.
just so you know.
Sure.
That's it though. Thank
You
you.
can bring some bacon. I can have my employees work with her.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I just feel bad every time you've asked me to do that. She like doesn't.
Yeah.
But maybe she knows.
Actually, don't do bacon. We'll do something else. We
I'll give her a bone.
deli meat, bone, whatever.
Cool.
And then we can see what happens.
Sounds good.
Okay.